Hello, and welcome to the final episode of Off the Books, where for 5 years now, we've surfed the uncharted waters of accounting, finance, risk, and wherever else the waves decided to take us. This episode and this podcast is brought to you by Workiva, the only platform to unify financial reporting, sustainability, audit, and risk teams together on a single integrated platform so you can work better. And believe me, it really does work better. My name is Steve Soder, accounting enthusiast, Diet Coke aficionado, and original co-host of Off the Books, having debited nearly 200 great conversations. Well, I'm looking forward to debiting one last one, and I'm so excited to have you surfing along with us. It's no small pleasure to be joined by my friends, co-host Catherine Tsai and producer and Workiva podcast czar, Mike Gravano. Catherine or Mike, could I trouble you for one last final introduction?
Sure, I'm not an accounting enthusiast or Diet Coke aficionado, but I'm a professional asker of questions, and I like to drink a venti soy chai, and I like talking to Mike Gravano.
And I'm a recovering cherry Coke addict and just a podcast privateer, paramour, lover of all things podcast. I love the medium, love making it happen no matter the topic. And gosh darn it, has it been an absolute pleasure to work on Off the Books.
It sure has. You know, when we were preparing for this episode, we were going back, looking at dates, looking at archives, trying to get Gen AI to do actually that for us with some success. And it turns out the very first episode of Off the Books was dropped on April 1st, 2020. So just over 5 years from when we are recording this episode on April 3rd, 2025.
And I'll say that is a huge accomplishment because most podcasts don't get past 10 episodes.
Wow, I didn't know that.
The vast majority of podcasting creation, it is a wasteland of between 3 and 10 episodes, and then people go, oh, this is a lot of work. Never mind.
Wow, we have 180 plus.
Yes. Steve, neither Catherine nor I were there at the beginning. Is there anything you can shed light of the secret origin of Off the Books?
Well, you know, it's funny you call it a secret origin because I know we had talked about like, hey, you know, what's the story and where did this all come from? Shortly after I joined Workiva in 2019, we had talked a lot about a podcast, and I wouldn't call those the early days of B2B podcasting, but certainly it had caught our attention. And I remember distinctly us deciding that, you know what, maybe the objective of this is to see if we could do it without getting caught. Maybe we could see if we could do it without anybody noticing. Clearly, I'm not a marketer. And we were so secretive that when I go back, and actually I could go back and look at my calendar from late 2019, which is funny because I still remember meetings and trips and all kinds of things. I can find no record whatsoever of that meeting. So apparently we were too good at being secret because
It
it's
was a
not on the
secret
calendar.
meeting.
That's right.
Let's work really hard on something and not let anybody know it exists.
Well, it's funny. The one thing I was able to find is an original invitation, record podcast episode 1. This would be Wednesday, March 18th, 2020, from 2:30 to 4 o'clock p.m. Mountain Time. And that included Andy Buck, Andrew Markin, Camille Rudy, Drew Dubner, Ernest Annunciacion, and myself. And I think that was and it would make sense, right? We recorded mid-March. We dropped it the 1st of April. That timeline definitely makes sense.
That's awesome.
I remember hearing some of those early episodes. Those were really fun.
You know what? We had a great time. In fact, you go back to the very first one, this whole intro and outro that we do, Drew Dubner, who's really the main host when we first got started, I think he just made that up on the fly, and now that's become our de facto script. Mike, we've had a lot of different types of episodes. In fact, a new genre of episodes when you joined the podcast crew several years ago. What do the details look like?
Sure. Including this episode, there's 184 episodes of Off the Books, including, countless great interviews. We've had live episodes from Nashville, DC, Denver, New York, if we're including our sister podcast, Baku, Azerbaijan. So that's why I'm going to include that one because that's definitely the furthest traveling for. We've talked in front of Wall Street. We've had 4 meme episodes where we learn about accounting memes and 12 movie episodes, which is near and dear to my heart as a movie lover and movie podcaster in my secret life that we don't talk about.
There's a surprising number of accounting movies out there.
There are. If I'm allowed to define them, there's over 30 of them.
So many.
So many. Well, And speaking of so many, we also compiled a list of recurring guests, and this is certainly not an exhaustive list, but we've got Jonathan Gregory, we've got Nicola White, Matt Kelly, Alan Wilson, Nick Mazing has been on this podcast over a dozen times, 14 by our count. Nick may keep us honest on that, but just tremendous, phenomenal conversations we've had over the years. Now, we talked about memes, and it's funny. We always like, well, we should do more meme episodes. And then you go out and look for accounting memes, and it turns out there's not that many, and the ones that there aren't that great. But
What?
for well, you know what? When you've seen, look, these get rehashed. These are people that have real jobs. They're not just spending their time looking for memes or preparing memes or putting them together, whatever. Like they got work to do, Mike.
What we need is
But
accounting fans that don't necessarily have real jobs.
well, it turns out if you're not in accounting, and maybe if you are in accounting, you're probably not a fan of accounting. I don't know, unless you're me, I suppose. But in honor of our closing episode, I found a handful of memes. Not sure how many that we're going to get to. What I will, since we haven't done it for a while, and of course this is an audio podcast, so you're not able to see. But what I'm going to do is describe to you the meme, and then Mike and Catherine, you're going to try to determine why it's funny or what meaning it has within accounting. So you've got a picture. This is a two-panel, top panel, bottom panel. On the top panel, there's two buttons, and the sign above one button says, blame it on rounding. The sign above the button next to it says, find the 1 cent difference. In the bottom panel, you have this guy labeled accountant, and he is sweating profusely with basically like a kerchief, kind of like wiping his brow.
Is
So,
that funny?
Mike, Catherine, why is it funny?
Classic meme, the sweaty guy choosing between the two buttons. So right
That's
there,
right.
hopefully our listeners, I understand that so far. Catherine,
Is it funny? I don't know.
so blame it on rounding is so there's an issue with the books and they're trying to be like, well, we rounded too much, or there's a 1 cent difference, and maybe accountants shouldn't care about that 1 cent. Is that the joke? I don't know.
Is it material?
Oh, okay, see, so there you go. Any other thoughts? Any other questions, Cameron? Because Mike, you're close. You're quite close.
No, I got nothing.
So, have you ever heard of the term of a trial balance, for example, or a balance sheet? I know you both have.
Yes.
Okay, so when you're talking about those two things, they are meant to balance, right? Like debits equals credits, left side equals left side, assets equals liabilities plus owner's equity. Um, they're meant to balance. But when you go through that exercise, sometimes it doesn't. But the problem when it doesn't is that the balancing is actually a nice check. It means that you've got completeness is among the things that could indicate when things are balancing. But when it's off, well, the question is like, okay, how much is that off? And if it's off by only 1 cent, maybe you don't care about that. But if it's off by a little bit more than that, does that mean I have like $1 million error on one side and a 999,000, $999 error on the other, and they're just offsetting to get to, well, I guess not a cent, but a dollar? And that's what the accountant has got to figure out. That's why he's sweating profusely to figure out, okay, am I just going to say, you know what, this is just a rounding error, nothing to see here? Or, hey, I'm actually going and figure out, like, hey, do I have a real issue here? Candidly, if it's only 1 cent, I would say highly successful, dust off your hands and move on. But apparently this guy's sweating it out.
This was a highly pivotal plot point in the movie The Accountant that Anna Kendrick and Ben Affleck, I think, found. That there was like that small difference, and she dug in and she's like, hey, super accountant, am I crazy?
Mike, my heart just leaped out of my chest that you're able to draw those two things.
I've learned a thing or
together.
two.
I know. Oh, gosh. Okay, next meme. Also two panel, top and bottom. The first panel at the top is labeled Accounts Receivable Girls, and you have Disney princesses. I think I see Rapunzel. I think I see Moana, and I think that's Aurora, Sleeping Beauty. I think that's her name. Anyway, Accounts Receivable Girls, top panel. Bottom panel, Accounts Payable Girls. And I actually don't know the names, but I do think that's Princess Fiona from Shrek in her ogre perspective, not the, I guess, slightly better looking other version. And that's it. I would say that the accounts receivable girls at the top, smiling, like nice looking faces, accounts payable girls, a little mean, a little grumpy. I need to be super clear. Calling these girls or women is actually important for the context of the joke because you have Disney princesses and then ogres. I will say there are plenty of people that work in both accounts payable and accounts receivable that are not women, plenty of men too. So just want to point that out there. Okay, Mike, Catherine, why is this funny?
You want to be an AR girl.
Okay, and why would that be?
You get to bring in the money, collect.
Okay, see? All right, now we're getting there. Mike, any thoughts?
Uh, no, the only no. I is it like besmirching the good name of the people who work in accounts payable?
Not not really.
Okay.
Catherine basically got it.
Okay.
When your accounts receivable, hey, you know what? You're happy, you're fun, you're collecting money, right? You obviously want to be, I would say, like as nice and encouraging as possible, so people will pay you. If your account's payable, on the other hand, where the money's going out the other direction, you may want to be a little grumpy. You may want to be a
Mm.
little bit mean, maybe a little bit standoffish. You know what? I'll pay that invoice, but I'm not going to do it right now. Or, hey, I understand you think this is how much I owe you. Here's how much I think I owe you. For example, you might want the ogre princess Fiona paying your bills and, maybe Rapunzel, collecting your money. I don't know.
Do you think accounts payable is just misunderstood?
I do think they're misunderstood. And in fact, one of the best things that ever happened to me at multiple stints in my career was actually having a phenomenal accounts payable team. Because if you get that wrong, that generally costs you money, or cause you problems, and you obviously want to avoid both.
There you go.
There you go.
Today's episode is brought to you by Workiva. Like most of us, I like to pretend to eat healthy, or at least not exclusively eat Dinah chicken nuggies. And that's why I'm a big fan of salad kits. Yes, this is an ad for Workiva, but it is also an ad for salad kits. No longer will I buy a bunch of kale or arugula and sadly watch it turn to green smelly soup in the bottom drawer of my fridge after making a salad for one. No longer will I have to think of crouton pairings, and no longer will I have 14 half-used bottles of dressing in the fridge, even though I know I only like balsamic vinaigrette. I found culinary convenience in salad kits. With the wonderfully paired dried cranberries, carrot strips, goat cheese, and strawberry vinaigrette, you will find financial reporting, ESG, and audit risk convenience in Workiva. Yes, Workiva. And you've got your SEC reporting, ESG reports, 10K, sustainability reports, SOX compliance, risk assessments, and so much more, dear listener, on the same platform. You've got just the right ingredients, right when and where you need them. Toss out that old technology your team never liked to use and try Workiva. Tailor-made to your processes, without all the extraneous junk that just gums up the works. Plus, it's fat-free and low in sodium.
Now, for this meme, have you both seen Napoleon Dynamite?
Yes.
But it's been a while.
Okay, and it has been for me too. But Napoleon's brother, you remember his name? It's okay, Kip. And that
Kip.
has nothing to
Alright.
do with the meme, but it is Kip. And I don't know if you remember, but there's a part in the movie where Kip is talking to Napoleon about Kip's new girlfriend or somebody that he had met, LaFonda, I believe that was her name. And Napoleon asks, like, hey, is it like, are you guys getting serious? So this is where we'll jump to the meme. It is Kip. The meme is Kip in that scene. It's just a single panel. And the top of it says, I go see the CFO 4 to 5 times a week now. Bottom of it says, so I guess you could say things are getting pretty serious. Okay, why is this funny?
Yeah, I don't think you'd want to go see the CFO that many times. Are you either you're in trouble or maybe on the positive view is you're doing well and you're getting FaceTime with the boss, but I feel like it's a negative.
Okay, Catherine.
Same. Maybe it's not as good as he thinks it is.
Okay, so you're right. Generally speaking, you get called in the CFO's office most of the time. That's probably not a good thing. Or at best, you're going to have to answer some questions that might be uncomfortable, some kind of error or some kind of issue or question, whatever. In this case, within the context of Kip talking about his soon-to-be bride, LaFonda, if you do remember, they get married at the end of the movie. Um, What Kip is saying is, hey, I've got really close proximity to the CFO. Like, we're talking 4 or 5 times a week. So, yeah, you could say things are getting pretty serious. In this case, it's the proximity to the CFO, which gives that nod to, hey, these accountants aren't like off to the side or whatever. No, no, no. They're being pulled in. They're having conversations with the C suite and are influencing all the important decisions that need to be made. So that's the implied humor. I just thought it was
Oh.
great because it's Kip, because Napoleon Dynamite's fantastic.
Yeah, the amount of Napoleon Dynamite details you've rattled off, having not seen it so long, yeah, I think you're a fan.
I might be. Okay, here we go. And I'm gonna need to try to find the best way to describe this, but this one's very simple, single panel, single picture. This is a princess, at least I think is a princess. I recognize it, but I don't know why, and she's got a very like, a smile on her face, but it's very condescending. Like, "I'm smiling at you, but really I think you're an idiot." And the caption there says, "I'm here to audit the financials, not prepare them." Okay, Catherine, Mike, why is this funny?
Well, Catherine?
I like the sass in her. I'm here to audit the financials, not prepare them. Is that something that external auditors say all the time? Like, they come in and they say, "Uh, dudes."
Yes.
Okay.
One of the things, kind of I wouldn't call it a conflict, but just one of the things that's just sort of like kind of in the room when you're having discussions with your auditors is who's responsible for that information. Obviously, management is responsible for the financial statements, and management is engaging an independent auditor to come in and to check and to verify, and they're going to issue an audit opinion to tell the world and the public, hey, these financial statements are great. But inevitably, what ends up happening is that issues kind of creep up, right? Like an accountant will say, like, "Hey, we've got this really subjective thing. Here's how we decided to treat it. Here's how it's presented the financial statements. Hey, auditor, we're going to kind of like provide all that information for you, so you know that we made a reasonable decision, and we've got expertise and capabilities and whatever." Well, a lot of times, what you're really asking the auditor is like, "Hey, is this okay? I did all of this work. I want to give it to you, but like, are you guys going to be comfortable with this, or like, are we going to have an issue?" The really good auditors that I have worked with over the years generally are really good at navigating that to say, hey, well, you know what, Steve, you are ultimately responsible for the financial statements, but let me give you some things to think about. I'd say some of the more difficult auditors would be like, hey, you know what, that's great. But I'm here to audit the financials. I'm not responsible for them. You are. So I'll let you know if I have a problem with your opinion, but this is not a discussion that we're going to have. And the humor in it is her slightly smiling but condescending face, like, "Hey, you're an idiot. You're not gonna, bait me into having this conversation. You're on your own, and I'll tell you if I have an issue." That's why this is funny, which clearly was only funny to me. Mike, for the final meme, I appreciate the courtesy laugh. Thank you so much. You may have fooled me. I don't think you fooled the audience with whether or not that was sincere, but that's okay.
What? I thought it was a knee slapper.
I'm sure it was. All right, there you go. There's the memes.
There is the memes. And Steve, speaking of the loyal listeners who probably picked up on it, thank all of you who are currently listening now. We have uh, so many loyal listeners. I mean, our diehards. We have Steve's dad. We have Jonathan
Yay.
Gregory. We have Catherine's old
Woohoo.
boss from her tortilla factory job.
No, he doesn't listen. It's okay.
Oh, all right. Well, screw that guy. We got the Workiva HQ executive chef Kevin, and so many of you. Thank you
Yay.
so much for all of your support through the years. It really means the world, and we could not do it without you.
Well, and a huge thank to the production crew. I mean, I hope it would go without saying, but it's obviously not Steve, Mike, and Catherine that are like doing all the work to get these out. You've got visuals, you sometimes have got graphics, you've got the social stuff. I mean, and certainly the editing when it comes to video and getting all this stuff up.
That's right. Over the years, we've had Andrew Markin, Alex Sworoff, Tanner Heinrich, Drew Hayes, Drew Moyne, OJ Daring, Emma Early, and Tina and Tara Punnett.
And of course, Mike has actually done quite a bit of editing himself.
Also, thanks to Leah Postma, Matt Hardy, Claire Allison, Liz Philbrick, Annika Monfort, and Erica Killinen for doing all sorts of great design.
And thank you so much to Amber Hagler, who makes sure all these get posted wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube, and to Courtney Kimsey, who makes sure our transcripts are top shape.
And over the years, we've had a number of hosts, so a big thanks to everybody who's done that, including Camille Rudy, Ernest Annunciacion, Drew Dubner, Nick Renkowski, Catherine Tsai, and Mike Ravagno.
And thank you, Steve Soder, for leading the way as that pivotal anchor point throughout all of the different phases of Off the Books.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure.
We have the back catalog. It is still available. The new show is coming out soon. You can follow Workiva, Catherine, Steve, and myself on LinkedIn so you don't miss the announcement when we're getting a new show coming later this year. Keep an ear out for the teaser. We'll drop it in this feed, so then you'll get hooked. We know you are going to love it.
Well, thank you again, dear listeners, for surfing along with us. I'm Catherine Tsai. You heard Steve Soder and Mike Gravano, and this has been Off the Books presented by Workiva.
Surf's up, and we'll see you on the next wave. It has been no small pleasure to be joined by my friends, Catherine Tsai and Mike. Crap. It's been no small pleasure to be joined by my friends, Catherine Ho. One more.
I'm Catherine.
That's right.